When I was a kid, there was nothing more in the world, in the entire universe, that I wanted more than to live in a world full of Pokemon. Growing up with a big family and not a lot of money, video games weren't high in my parents' priorities. I begged on my hands and knees for an N64, but they wouldn't budge. Too expensive. Besides, my mom had seen all the news, video games rot your brain, and didn't I have homework to do? But after months of truly relentless, award-winning begging, they finally caved and bought me a lime green Game Boy Color. And you know what game was available for Game Boy Color? Pokémon Blue version. I didn't know at the time, but Pokémon would eventually become one of the great obsessions of my childhood. And one of the most important ways I was able to make friends and experience communal, generational experiences that would shape many of my most important friendships for years to come. Now that I'm a married guy with young kids, I can see more and more how this game and others like it truly shaped my worldview and helped me know what kind of childhood I want my own kids to experience. Here's how Pokemon Blue version helped me be a better dad. I grew up in a little suburban neighborhood surrounded by cookie-cutter track homes, kiddie parks, and a cozy little lake. In other words, the starting area of every video game designed for young kids. Safe, predictable, and utterly boring for a young whippersnapper like me. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I bonded so much with Ash Ketchum, living his safe little life in Pallet Town at the start of the game. He's desperate, not for money or power, but for adventure. And Professor Oak, the ultimate Giga Chad for young whippersnappers in Kanto, graciously provides the call to adventure Ash so desperately seeks. Pick a Pokemon to train, your douchebag rival will pick the star of the beat's yours, and go, Lieutenant Surge is that-a-way. God, it was so thrilling. I felt like I was drunk when I first slipped into Ash's shoes as me and Bulbasaur left home and searched for adventure in the crazy world of Pokemon. I had two younger brothers, and although a Pokemon Blue version wasn't the sole reason I began to be obsessed with adventures, it was certainly a major contributing factor. I remember being around age 11 or 12 and ordering my two younger brothers around like a drill sergeant, training them to get ready for our upcoming adventures. We'd pack our crappy little airsoft guns, boxes of crackers, some rope, and a journal, then don some extremely badass military camo gear my mom bought us from the Army surplus store, and we just freaking go. I led us for miles around our little community, past the safe little neighborhoods and schools, and into the mountains, canyons, valleys, and even a few swamps, fully ready to combat tigers, wolves, and monsters lurking in caves. For me, I learned that kids need adventure. They need chances to prove themselves, to push their limits, and to explore and fail and try again, all on their own. Pokemon Blue helped me have adventures with Ash in the Kanto region, but that game also inspired me to go on real-life adventures. The best I could think of as an 11-year-old anyways. When my kids start to get a little older, I'm going to encourage them to grab some crackers, get some camo gear, maybe some sturdy rope, and just go, get out there. Their childhood will be different than mine. Parents usually don't let their kids just leave home like 1 p.m. with no phone and no plan, and hope they come back in one piece like it was for me growing up. But I want to foster that sense of adventure they'll have, so they can experience the reward and triumph of setting out on a journey and coming back home in one piece, a little stronger, braver, and smarter. It might sound silly, but Pokemon Blue helped me do that, and I'll always be grateful for those memories of going on adventures with my brothers. A lot of my closest friends are gamers, like me. And when you're a gamer with gamer friends, there's never enough time to talk. Growing up, I didn't have a ton of friends. I had a speech impediment. I stammered and stuttered. I was pretty quiet and shy. I had a hard time talking to other kids, and my mom placing me in the 4th, 5th grade combination class, where I was like one of 7 4th graders that went to school with all the older kids, that didn't help. But I made a few friends, and you know what we all had in common? Video games. Pokémon was the perfect game for connecting a young, shy little introvert like me. The games had this incredible and interesting mechanic where Red and Blue versions didn't allow players to capture all 150 Pokémon by themselves. Some Pokemon were only available by using one of those old-ass Game Boy Link extension cables, which meant that if you were obsessed with catching them all, you needed someone to help you. It was an easy way to start talking with the other kids, and I made some of my closest friends this way, through Pokemon. It can be hard to explain to somebody who's not really into video games why you are such a fan. You've probably heard the same critiques and seen the same raised eyebrows as the rest of us. Aren't video games a waste of time? Why don't you just level up in real life instead? Aren't you a little old for that? Video games are for kids, right? One of the most important components video games have to offer isn't the games themselves. It's the camaraderie they organically create between like-minded fans. And it can be hard to find people who like the stuff you do, and harder to stay connected with them over time too. Video games are a natural bridge between people, and can be an intimate, deeply personal bond between best friends. My best friend and I have been talking every Tuesday night for the last 7 years straight. And you know what our most favorite topic of conversation is? Video games. We can't ever find enough time to talk about the new games we're playing, what we're excited for, our biggest challenges in games, our funniest moments, all from the games we play. In a world where it's increasingly harder and harder to truly bond with like-minded friends and develop lasting relationships built on trust and mutual respect, video games are an excellent tool for people of all ages to connect with each other in ways they might find impossible otherwise. So when my kids come to me begging to play the latest game, I'm probably going to buy it immediately for them. Why? Because even if the game looks a little ridiculous, and I bet Pokemon Blue version looked pretty ridiculous to my dad, who had 4 little mouths to feed as he ran his own construction business and worked in a cramped little house. But thanks to him, I was able to make friendships in a time where I was pretty terrified to talk to anyone. And it's helped me grow deeper with my best friend for the past 16 years and counting. As someone who wants to be a great dad, I read a lot of parenting books. And just the other day, I was reminded that my 2 little kids still have no idea what they're doing, and they won't for a long time. So why would I get frustrated when they can't put their shoes on the right foot, or can't multitask and tell me what they want for breakfast while they're watching TV? All kids start out at level 1, and will need to train for a long time before they can start getting even the smallest levels of mastery, or even the most basic things. When they get older, this need for training becomes extremely important. Knowing how to make friends, stand up to bullies, learn how to study, manage their emotions when things don't go their way, and more. At every skill, they're at level 1 again. And just like Ash Ketchum with his little starter Pokemon, my kids will need to be exposed to tests and trials so they can learn, grow, and become the badass Pokemon trainers who can kick the Elite Four's asses like I know they will someday. Pokemon Blue version was the first game I ever played that had random encounters. When you're just walking along, mind your own business, and then BAM! A Beedrill comes looking to kick your ass, leaving you no option but to fight. You could try and run, but you could risk losing your turn, allowing Beedrill to shoot stingers at you. This gameplay mechanic of random encounters has become so annoying for some gamers nowadays that some new games literally turn off random encounters. But for me, I just love them. I recently put in about 85 hours into Octopath Traveler 2, I just beat through Golden Sun again, and I think I tried to run away from a battle less than a dozen times across both games. Why? Because that grinding is what levels up your party, and there's actually the chance to enter hyper-focused flow states within the endless barrage of these battles. When I just booted up Golden Sun again, I already knew how hard the end bosses would be. I beat it before. And whenever I was tempted to run from battle because I was bored, I forced myself to play through these random encounters, knowing it'd pay off in the end for my party. Which it did. I only died 1 time during the final battle, because my party was so beefed up and had reaped the rewards of killing every stray creature stupid enough to pick a fight with us. The same is true for kids, I'm realizing. Rather than try to shield my kids from the difficult, challenging struggles they'll inevitably face, difficult homework, intimidating older kids, the prospect of maybe eating something other than mac and cheese for dinner, I want to thoughtfully and lovingly place them in situations where they'll have to think on their feet, identify challenges, and face them head on. This is what levels them up. This is what will help them in the real battle. The gym leaders, if you will come to challenge them. And as we all know, those battles are coming. whether they like it or not. Lastly, I think we just need to bring this all back to basics. Video games can be incredibly, sometimes life-alteringly fun. They help create memories that you can think back on for the rest of your life. For me, I have countless of these experiences, and I plan to make many more videos on just how video games have had such an impact on our collective lives. But in this day and age, parenting is tough. It's extremely easy to feel like you're constantly doing a bad job by letting your kids have too much screen time, or eat too many snacks, or not spend enough time with them. And I think what Pokémon Blue and so many other incredible games I played as a kid taught me is that sometimes kids just need to have some really fun video games to play. These video games can help them make lifelong friends and create memories that will bond them to franchises and people for decades to come. When I was a kid, my parents fought me hard on buying video games. It was the 90s, and parents in that generation simply didn't know how powerful video games could be. Think Final Fantasy VII, GoldenEye, Super Smash Bros., Chrono Trigger, Ocarina of Time, Super Mario 64, Tony Hawk, Metal Gear Solid, countless other genre-defining masterpieces. Us kids knew how special these games were, but all my parents probably thought was how bloody Mortal Kombat was. I can't blame them for not wanting to drop hundreds of dollars from our already tight family budget. But I'm incredibly glad they eventually did, because for me, video games weren't just a fun hobby you played casually at friends' birthday parties. This form of media would become a crucial bedrock hobby and passion of mine that is still extremely active nearly 30 years later. I listen to video game music just about every day. I constantly replay through old games, remembering how it felt to play Golden Sun or Pokémon or Smash Bros. For the first time. I'm one of those lucky few guys who also has a wife who can also appreciate video games almost as much as me, and we have a long history of playing our favorite games together. I can only hope my kids experience these same things someday, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make that happen. Pokémon Blue version taught me a lot. It helped me make friends when I was too shy to talk to anyone. It taught me to see the value of leveling up and to appreciate that I need to train to become stronger. It taught me how much I loved adventure and how important it is for kids to explore the world and find their own treasure. And most importantly, it taught me just how powerful the right video game is for young, insecure, awkward, shy little kids like me. And how many memories just one game can give you that will be remembered for decades to come. So thanks, Pokémon Blue. I haven't kept up with the latest batches of Pokémon. There's like 1,000 now or something? But I'll always remember when it all started out. Going to Kmart with my dad and brother, getting that iconic blue-colored box of Blastoise, going home, popping it in my Game Boy, and letting the experience unfold that would stick with me for decades to come. Thanks for watching, and if you want to watch more of my videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button.